Capcom has done the unthinkable, you guys. They brought together one of the best fighting game collections to date from their library of crossover games. The Marvel vs. Capcom collection is a celebration of Capcom's collaboration with Marvel during the early 90s up until the 2000s, with new up-to-date features such as rollback netcode and enhanced training modes. This collection is packing a serious punch. This is the collab that started it all.
Marvel vs. Capcom!
This collection, for starters, features arcade-perfect ports of each one of its titles. The desire for arcade-perfect ports of these games has been a bit of a task for Capcom due to the hardware limitations and/or learn new software of the consoles during that era. For example, the PlayStation 1 did not do these ports any justice at all, unfortunately. However, the Sega Saturn was the preferred home conversion for the many hardcore players of these games. From that point forward, we've only gotten these games in bits and pieces over the years in smaller compilations or singular re-releases. But this is the first time we've gotten all the crossover games, so let's jump on in and see what this collection has to offer. First up on the games list, we have The Punisher. Now, most new to the Versus series aren't aware of this, but The Punisher was actually the start of the collaboration with Marvel and Capcom. It's a side-scroller beat-em-up that was the start of it all. This game features some really great sprite work and solid gameplay for its time. It does support online co-op, so you and a friend can run through this title no problem as the Punisher and Nick Fury and enjoy the original start of the collaboration between Marvel and Capcom. Next in the game list, we have X-Men Children of the Atom. Children of the Atom, or known by its player base as CODA for short, marks the first in the Versus series as a fighting game. Features only X-Men characters and special guest Akuma. Next on our list, we have Marvel Superheroes. This is the sequel to Children of the Atom, introducing some newer characters such as Spider-Man, Iron Man, Doctor Doom, and Hulk, and features unique gameplay where you can use the Infinity Stones to really juice up your character and have some really intriguing and fun gameplay for the Marvel Superheroes. Next on the games list is X-Men vs. Street Fighter. X-Men vs. Street Fighter started a new era for the Versus series by introducing tag team gameplay and other tag features such as Team Supers. Now, this game features a few new but familiar faces to the title, such as Gambit Rogue on the Marvel side and Charlie and Cammy on the Capcom side. Oh yeah, don't forget, Akuma is also selectable in this game. After X-Men vs. Street Fighter, we also continue the tag team mayhem in Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter continues the tradition of the 2v2 tag gameplay and its features, but this title introduces a brand new assist system with your tag partner, opening up more doors for creativity for the players. Next on the game list is the beginning of the true popularity of the Marvel vs. series. Marvel vs. Capcom pushes the assist formula from the previous title, and it also adds new features such as crossover combination, which puts both team members on screen, allowing you to come up with creative ways to put the beat down on your opponents. And last on the games list, what's believed to be the pinnacle of the Versus series, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 brings everything together from all the previous titles and pushes the boundaries of the series that offered so much for you with new, deep, rich mechanics for the player to explore and enjoy what is believed once again to be the pinnacle of the Versus series and a great celebration of the collaboration throughout the years. Alright, now that we've gotten the games list out the way, let's take a look at the universal features of these titles. Universally, all the fighting games have great training modes with new features such as hitbox viewers and recording playback to help players as per usual. Now, it's fairly decent compared to the current training modes in newer fighting games, so it's passable. It's not a Street Fighter 6 or Tekken 8 or anything of that nature, but you can get by with what they have here. All the fighting games have an offline mode that pushes you into the arcade mode. You also have the ability to choose between the English and Japanese versions of any of the games that you choose. Now, more on the game pushing you into the arcade mode. This is somewhat of an issue for tournaments, specifically more so for Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where you'd want an actual versus mode for competitive reasons that I won't get into in this video. That aside, they also have EX settings that allow for easier access for the secret characters. Definitely a nice feature, seeing as to how the games are the arcade ports where you had to input codes to unlock those characters. So it's really nice to just be able to just pick them at your own will. Now, other modes include the museum mode, where you get to check out a ton of the development cycle artworks, which, quite frankly, it's pretty damn cool. And of course, you got music mode to jam out to the OSTs of all the games. In addition, you also unlock fighter awards as you play the game and do various challenges to keep the gameplay fun. You'll naturally be unlocking these, so as long as you're playing the game, you'll most likely unlock these. Now for the meat and potatoes of this review. Netplay, the online experience. Capcom has knocked it out of the park in this regard, once again utilizing rollback netcode for literally all the games in the collection. All of them feature the usual casual, ranked, and custom matches, which is pretty neat, all things considered. So if you wanted to play ranked in any of the fighting games in the collection, hey, you can do that. Now, as we're getting on the topic of netplay, I want to point out that I held off my review for whatever issues that may arise during day one and it's online to kind of get patched out and ironed out, you know? So for context, the game did have issues on launch with lobbies and ranked, where it would freeze on the victory screens during matches, causing players to restart the game and or getting sent back to the main menu. Additionally, you may or may not get the ranked points for completing the matches as well. However, as of this review, Capcom has updated this issue, and these issues mentioned are non-existent now. On top of this, they address certain things that were featured in other games that may or may not be problems or cause issues with the game. With that being said, Capcom is aware of the bugs and glitches featured in the games in the collection. And specifically, MVC2, they acknowledged Juggernaut's power-up glitch and made it a toggle in the game, actually. So the fact that Capcom took the time out to acknowledge this means there's potential for other games in the collection to kind of get fixed or patched out, give or take. I would definitely say that this is the best feature of the collection by far, and it's great that Capcom has addressed this issue so quickly after release regarding the netplay. Most players will be spending time online, so honestly, it only makes sense. Now, of course, with any video game, there will come a couple nuances and a couple gripes. So it does have its fair share of minor issues, and let me touch on those. For starters, some of the games in the collection have muffled sound effects which can be jarring during matches at times. Specifically more so in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it seems as if it's reused some of the sound effects from the PS2 version, which was littered with, quite frankly, horrible sound effects. So it seems to be a mix of the original sound effects and that, so not a big fan. In addition, some effects during delayed hyper combos in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 simply just don't work. They recently just fixed Thanos in MVC2 with one of his hyper combo moves not showing on the screen. There are also other bugs and glitches that players are finding within MVC2 that are specific to the collection. It's kind of unfortunate. There are also some players reporting that the PS4 version has slight input delay, making it a little bit more difficult to play the game and feel, as most would say, super crispy. And lastly, I do think this is somewhat of a big issue, and I do want to bring it to light, and it is the lack of crossplay definitely leaves a lot to be desired, as it's always important to unify the player bases of your fighting games. So with all that being said, is this collection for you? Well, whether if you're a new player to these games or a veteran of these games, I couldn't see why not, to be honest with you. If you want to experience the early fighting games in the Versus series, this is the best place for you to play these titles with an extremely solid online experience. So you're getting the arcade perfect versions of each game and the first true arcade port of the Punisher as well, which, to be quite frankly with you, is pretty huge. Now, I believe wholeheartedly that if you're a fan of fighting games, and of course both Marvel and Capcom to any capacity, I mean, Marvel vs. Capcom Collection is a must-have for any fighting game fan at that point. These titles have been locked in the vault all the way up until now. And while it has a few issues, it's still a great thing that Capcom and Marvel worked it out to bring these titles back to modern consoles in 2024. At the end of the day, if you enjoy content like this, please leave a comment below. Let me know how you're feeling about this. How are you guys feeling about the Marvel vs. Capcom collection? Have you guys been having a lot of fun? Let me know what teams you've been playing in each one of the games, or the characters in which that you're playing in general. Talk to me, let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Deuces, gooses.